Welcome back, everybody. I'm Giles, in for the home entertainment show today. And man, we have a wonderful show lined up for you. We have a guest, an esteemed guest that I'm really, no, esteemed
Appreciate
guest that I'm very excited to talk with and learn a little bit from today. So we have joining us Norman Tracy from Audio Crafters Guild and Pure Art Fi. Welcome. How are you today?
Thanks. I'm great. We
Awesome.
uh, we had a nice sunny day today. I got the dogs walked and things
You
set
know,
up and played with
it was
audio, and here we
It
are.
was it was beautiful out here today too. I mean, it was gorgeous. So it's really nice. A beautiful day leads into a beautiful conversation. Now I always like to level set at the beginning of the show so that people can kind of understand, all right, what's going on here today. So the goal here is really to introduce you, your brands, and the things that you're going to be showing off at the Lone Star Audio Fest coming up later this year. But I think maybe for the folks that are joining us, tell us a little bit about who you are, maybe a little bit about your history, and then the brands that you've created over time and the kinds of products that you guys have.
Thanks. Appreciate that. Well, as I said, I'm Norman Tracy, as you introduced me. Um, I'm a retired electrical engineer. I spent a career in technology and IT and electrical engineering. The Starting with when we were running mainframes with punch cards. Yes, I'm that old. You can
Well,
see.
when I went to school, I got a computer science degree, and I graduated from with my undergrad back in '95, I think it was, and we were at the very tail end of punch cards. So we had the big, humongous hard drives and the mainframes where you lift them up like this,
Oh,
but we had
yes.
a punch card emulator. So I never actually had to do punch cards, but we
Oh,
did.
you missed all the fun then. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I remember, like,
300 megabyte hard drives the size of washing machines, all that good stuff.
the good old.
Um, anyway, it is I transitioned into electrical engineering about halfway through my career. I was lucky to work at a major petroleum company's research and development lab. And the project I learned to do electrical engineering on was a seismic data recorder,
Oh, nice.
which um, for an audiophile was great because seismic is sound, just like hi-fi, except
Hmm.
you're recording low frequency vibrations out of the earth instead of a symphony orchestra out of the air. And so that's where of course, in college, learned the craft of electrical engineering. Last 22 years of before I formally retired, I was with a company that did electronics for the pipeline industry, um, where I did both design through the entire cycle of electronic parts and then a lot of production engineering, which is something I'm pretty passionate about bringing.
That's awesome.
As far as my audiophile history, that started about a little over 60 years ago when I was about 8 years old. My dad bought one of those big old consoles.
Oh, those are just the best. I love the old
Well,
consoles.
yeah, and this one I didn't appreciate at the time because when I was about 14, I started reading HiFi magazines, and by then, Stomberg Carlson was no longer a name. They had, like so many companies, faded away.
Sure.
But when I inherited that console and took the back off, the power amp is about the size of an audio researcher D75, and that's why Norman was inoculated with the hi-fi bug from a very early age, and I was allowed to play their records. And then when I went to college in the 70s, that was pre-video game, pre everything almost.
Hmm.
But one thing everybody did was save up their money from their summer jobs to make sure they went to the dorms with a stereo.
Oh,
And
nice.
I've basically been at it hardcore ever since.
Right on. So that history in your technical training and all of that experience, plus your personal experience with hi-fi, it sounds like those things kind of all morphed together, which then led to your Audio Crafters Guild and Pure Art Fi, right? So is that
That's
kind
what.
of the genesis that led to those items?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The uh, for example, in the late '80s, early '90s, because I was working at a research institute, um, I got very early access to the internet.
Oh,
Back in
nice.
the days of Usenet and the
Hmm.
Rec.audio groups, and I would stay late after work. This and it was amazing because we it was the first time you could connect. I mean, I with audiophiles all over the world and information that normally, occasionally, you get like in one little snippet of a paragraph in a show report uh, was being discussed all day long. And it was during that time that I founded Audio Crafters Guild. And probably the turning point there was as part of my seismic stuff. Um, I got the technical trade journals, which in the print age, those were an entree into the world of electronics that now
Right.
is just all laid out online. But back then it
Sure.
was sort of you're given the secret codes and Bible and stuff. So um, one day there was an ad for Yamaha Corporation was selling a integrated circuit that was an SB diff receiver.
Okay.
And I realized with that I could make my own external D-Day converter. And
Oh,
I had
nice.
already been, rolling op amps and CD players and doing the other things we were reading about in Audio Amateur magazine. And so my first product with Audio Crafters Guild was a kit to build a digital to analog converter. And I sold it everything from a blank circuit board that you can source your own parts, or I'll sell you the major chips, and including I'd finagled the supply of those Yamaha SB diff receivers, and shortly after that, Crystal Semiconductor came out with them, and we uh, did some nice work with. I had versions with full case work, so you could get anything from a blank circuit board that you populate for fellow engineers and technicians, up to I'd sell you a turnkey DAC.
Right on. So you said that was the first product then,
Yeah, that was
from
the first
ACG.
product. And the over the years since I was working a full time job in technology, I'm married, I have a family, I was raising the family. Um, the activity in ACG would kind of come and go, and the now that I'm enjoying my retirement, I've started a few years and anticipating that a few years before. I've really leaned into ACG and still in both electronics and very heavily into speakers because I've been building my own speakers. This is a very common story, I've been building my own speakers since I was 17 years old and stuff.
Right, right.
So and tweaking stuff and um, adding headphone jacks to fold down record players for my friends in the church youth group back when I was 16 and 17 years old. So um, ACG has morphed into a company that I have a passion for trying to hit the curve, the
Mhm.
inflection point of the price performance ratio,
Right.
where um, you're still spending, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, but we deliver performance at several multiples of that. And
Right.
also, and one that will give you options that
Hmm.
um, the more mass market pieces don't. And
Right.
I'll
So
get
what all
I'll get into
products
some
do
of
you
those
have?
details when we talk about what we're bringing to the show.
Right. Yeah. And so without getting into the specifics of what's going to be at the show, what are the types of products that ACG has now? So it sounds like there are speakers for sure. Are there other things now? Are you still doing DACs and things like that?
Presently, the electronics are somewhat de-emphasized, although I have a stack of DAC, preamp, and power amp that I bring and show with. So
Okay.
when I show, it's basically starting with the PC I built as a media server, all the way through to the speakers. Every single thing is my design.
Awesome.
These red speakers behind me, these little and these black ones here are AudioCrafter products that I'll be bringing to the show. And then I also am a dealer for the carbide audio footers that this amplifier is sitting on.
Those look
And then
nice.
last year, I finally found a source for Panzerholz, and I've come out with a line of equipment racks that use Panzerholz. We can get into some more details about those later.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and move over to the other brand, right? So Pure
Yes.
Art Fi. So
Sure.
tell us a little bit
Yes.
about what that is.
Well, about 3 years ago, I was reading show reports, as always, and also the industry trade magazines about speaker drivers and stuff. And there was this company called Purify that was starting up. And first off, when you saw who was involved, Bernal Pruzzi, and others, that they were the major heavy hitters in the
Lars and Peter Lindor.
Scandinavian, yes. And then also, it seemed like they were onto something about these drivers, and particularly when some of the early reports were so positive. And I was very active on DIYaudio.com, and we started a thread about these interesting new drivers. And when they became available, I started a group buy, and all I wanted to do was, if we could get, I think it was if 3 or 4 of us would get together and buy half a dozen drives, we could get the best price. And all I wanted was to get my hands on a couple. And as the saying goes, that got out of hand quickly. And I ended up bringing in, just before COVID hit, basically a pallet of purified drivers. And from the moment and while all that was happening, and they were shipping and all that, and there was some, because COVID did hit and there was delays and them getting parts to build their first production runs, I had boxes ready, and those drivers went in. And from the moment I heard those, I was a dyed-in-the-wool fanboy. To me, they are a technology that makes a step change in the performance that's capable in moving coil drivers. From that, on DIY Audio, I was contacted by another user on DIY Audio called Paul Stover. Paul lives on a mountaintop in Colorado near Aspen, and he introduced himself as a professional woodworker and would I be interested in collaborating. And it started as we were going to build a couple pairs of speakers, and basically trading some of my design chops, his woodworking chops, and that evolved into, we are partners in Pure Art Fi. And this speaker here is our introductory product. When I say Paul's a good woodworker, he's been doing it since the 1970s. His clientele are the millionaires and billionaires in Aspen and the adjoining areas. They're home builders, and then quite often, once they get to know Paul, his clients come directly to him for furniture and architectural woodworking. And he has an amazing shop full of meticulously maintained equipment. And he does things like, this baffle is over 1 inch thick and it's solid walnut.
Yeah, that is absolutely gorgeous. I looked at a number of the photos that are up on the website, and for those that are interested in seeing more, down in the notes there'll be a link that people can follow. and the woodworking and the wood choices are just stunning, and the
Yes.
detail is, like you said, meticulous. It's gorgeous, really beautiful. This is the
We,
LS6, right?
yes, LS6.
Right on. And the speaker complement there is a Purify driver, and then that's a ribbon tweeter in a horn waveguide.
It's
Is
a
that
plug.
a,
Yeah, it's a
is that
plain on. It's the Neo 3, the one that we get them from GR Research. It's the one that Danny Ritchie's tweaked.
right
And
on?
then he
Yeah,
also does crossovers. Has a Danny Ritchie crossover in it, and
awesome, very cool.
which we're very pleased with. And so the main thing about Pure Art Fi is to take this level of technology, but also a much, several steps above the typical build quality, and the ability to specify uh, exactly the woods that the client wants to match their taste, to match their decor. Um, Basically, uh,
Yeah, so
if it's
aesthetically,
legal to, if it's legal to have that particular hardwood, we can get hold of it and
right.
fall to it.
So these can be custom built to match, using whatever materials best suit the client, right? And
Absolutely.
from an aesthetics point of view. Now that's awesome. So for folks that are just joining us, we are here with Norman Tracy from Audio Crafters Guild and Pure Art Fi, and we've been talking about your history and the history of your brands a bit. But at this point, we're going to shift gears just a little bit and look toward the show. And by the show, I mean the Lone Star Audio Fest that's coming up here in 2025, where you're going to be exhibiting. Now, my understanding is that you have a lengthy history with the Lone Star Audio Fest in different incarnations over the years. Is that right?
Yes. In fact, I was kind of
Tell us a little bit about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was reviewing that, and yeah, it turns out 20 years because
Oh, nice.
um, in in the early 2000s, 2005 to be specific, um, there was a local group of audiophiles in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and here in Tulsa, um, we would just get together for listening sessions in each other's homes and that sort of thing. And there was one of those guys was named Wayne Parham, which of course Amico was interviewed last week on this
Hmm.
the talk. And at that time, he lived in Tulsa, and he organized um, what he called the Great Plains Audio Fest,
Okay.
and which was a format that would be the prototype for the show pretty much going forward, which was to locate it in an all-suite hotel so that there was each hotel room would have an exhibit space,
Right.
and inexpensive and fun to do. And we did that a couple years in Tulsa. By then, Wayne's career had taken him to Arkansas, and eventually the show was moved to Dallas. And for up until this year, when the T.H.E organization got involved, um, it was a completely volunteer effort.
Oh, wow.
And that kept costs very low and fun very high. And it became a place for hobbyists to show off just their latest creation. Which there's a truism in speaker building that the best speaker I ever heard is the one I just finished building. Right, everybody knows
Right.
that. And so people like to they would just take them down to the hotel room and set them up. And some people were incubating businesses and little startups like
Hmm.
myself. Others would it'd just be 3 or 4 friends would get together, and you bring your speakers. I'm going to bring an amp. We'll figure out something for a source, and then 2 or 3 ice chests full of adult beverages, and just to hang out and listen to music over the weekend. I liken it to in the high performance car industry. There's these events called Cars and Coffee.
Right.
Country on a Sunday morning, everybody shows up at a particular parking lot where they've got permission to park, and they park their cars and pit race. Over the years, we started to get distributors and larger companies, and it would the participation and the activity would, some years would have really good ones and have just amazing systems. I remember when Austin Audio brought their 5-way, I think it was either quad amped or 5-way amped, massive horn system that was set up in all the ballrooms. That was very, very interesting. Drop by my room at the show and we can talk more about that. It was fun.
Absolutely.
Of course, we had to take a couple-year break because of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And in the year, we did 2 more independent shows in Dallas. And by then, we really wanted to try and take it to the next level. And Wayne and there was also just that when it's all volunteer stuff, and a lot of people, in volunteer organizations, if somebody's career heats up and they can't help out that year, or they're just, it's a hobby, people move on to other hobbies or something,
Sure.
And then there were people who were wanting to use it for business promotion, while there was others of us who had a real passion for do-it-yourself audio and for the very active participation in the practice of high-end audio. And so then the meeting of Wayne and Nico and bringing the 2 together, and I kind of like to use the full name. Let's see if I get it right. The Total HiFi Experience Lone Star Audiofest.
That's right. Total HiFi Experience. Yep.
Yeah, perfect. That is what we're going for. And moving to Austin, we're hoping that, given its deep musical roots and the large number of musicians, as well as technical people that are there in the capital of Texas, that we have great hopes for it. And I just can tell already, as things have been accelerating towards the date, that the participation of the T.H.E. group is going to be a game changer. I'm really looking forward to it. So,
yeah, it's super exciting for me too. I'm really happy to understand more about the kind of the history of the show, and I really like the roots and the way you've described that, and that's really appealing. I've often had thoughts of, wouldn't it be wonderful to go to a show and just have a room and then set your system up and listen to music, and it's not for sales, it's just for pure enjoyment. So that that's something that you don't necessarily see quite a lot of.
We very much want to keep that. We really want to keep that, and that ability where it can do both. Somebody's just coming to have fun, people that are doing startup, people that have a bright new idea they want to introduce, but also people who are importers and dealers.
Yeah,
I know
absolutely.
we're getting more dealers already are signed up, and that's going to be fun, because then for the participants, I mean, as you walk the halls and listen to the systems, I mean, just from the numbers of, the names that are on our exhibitor lists already, I can tell you're going to be able to go from listening to the very high-end systems and components that you know from the magazines and the websites, over to listening to small boutique craftsman stuff like myself, or like Josh Miles, Raven Audio stuff, where they're smaller but very passionate and offer some very interesting things. And you'll be able to compare and contrast and actually see, touch, hear, and talk to the principals in many cases.
That's outstanding. And so for the folks that are just joining, We're talking about Lone Star Audio Fest, and I'm joined here with Norman Tracy from Audio Crafters Guild and Pure Art Fi. And so let's focus a little bit on the show that's coming up. So the show uh, in Austin, May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th this year. So right around the corners, almost time. And you will be there exhibiting, correct?
Yes.
And let's talk a little bit about what your plans for the show are. What items do you plan to have in your room? What kind of experience is that going to be for people?
Well, um, I'm going to have a system based around my designs and my partner Paul. So the big dog will be the LS6s, and I don't know if I'll bring these in the walnut burl or we've got. I like to bring the spalted hackberry ones that are
Nice.
one of Paul's specialties is with burl veneers. It's only veneer. It has to be the veneer that's a few thousandths of an inch thick. Um, Coming over from his architectural millwork work and cabinet making and furniture making, uh, Paul resaws his own veneer where it's like an eighth of an inch
Oh,
thicker,
wow.
and it makes it. First off, you can get very interesting woods like the spalted hackberry that I'm referring to, but also it's very thick. And if you happen to ding the corner or something, it doesn't. You don't. It's very much. It's heirloom quality. It doesn't get banged up. So I'll probably, I'm leaning towards bringing those. So these guys, but for people who, I don't know that I mentioned that my audio crafters speakers are available both as custom built or I'll say kits with
Oh, the
intellectual
kids,
property at the
that's
end.
really cool.
Yes, and so there'll be a chance to hear those. And these that are over my shoulder here are the systems I call the Series 70, which uh, are a variety of designs in the 7-liter cabinet. And the like, like this one of the things that is my practice has led me to is materials and the huge importance of materials.
Hmm.
And this one basically throws everything at it. It uses the Textreme woofer, the beryllium dome tweeter.
Nice.
What's also very special is the baffle in front and back is made out of Panzer hose. And
Can you talk a little bit about that for people who might not be
I'll get it
familiar?
um, like here's one of the little footers I saw. I wonder if I can get a little closer.
Oh, yeah, we can
Yeah,
see it.
that's focusing. This is a material that's brought in from Germany, been available for specialized applications for decades. But it's called Panzerholz because it was actually used in tanks.
I was going to
Some
say, it
people
sounds
call it
like a
tank
tank
wood,
material. Yeah.
and it is actually bulletproof. I was looking for data sheets on it to get more information, and I actually found one where they show how many millimeters thick it needs to be to stop this particular shell, whether it's a
Nice.
pistol or a high-powered rifle and stuff. What it is, it's a very fine layered beech plywood, but it's been soaked in resins and then compressed under tremendous pressure. Like this piece is made out of a 20 millimeter sheet, and during the manufacturing, it started as a 30 millimeter. It started over an inch thick, and it
Oh,
was
wow.
pressed until it is so dense. And the reason I find that it tends to everything in our hi-fi that it touches, and I know that sounds like mumbo jumbo voodoo, but that's just my experience. That because it is so dense, and it's a cross between a wood and a composite, vibrations just enter and disappear. I know that's not real physics, but it is. What the real physics is, it is so highly damped and lossy that vibrations, um, and it's extremely stiff. And that's why when I like to my friends Leo and Michael and I get together most weeks on Wednesday for what we call HiFi night.
Right.
And I built this set with the Panzerholz baffle. I actually had an identical one with my. I love Baltic birch plywood also, and I I took one speaker that had the Panzerholz, one with the Baltic birch, and we did an A/B listing like Hi-Fi nerds would do. And when I asked them what they thought, they agreed with what I was hearing, which is every single thing about that, the fidelity was improved by having this super dense, super hard material in the mix. Now, I mean, when you get the thing fully loaded, you're over, you're up to $3,400 or more there,
Right.
depending how crazy you go on the finishing. Um, with my kits, you can get in and by going to things like silk dome tweeters and such, or uh, the papyrus paper version of this woofer.
Hmm.
The You can get it $1,700. You can get it
Oh,
in technology, and those are all with very highly specified crossovers, which is another thing that I feel like. I mean, probably a lot of us watching are familiar with Danny Ritchie at GR Research and
hmm.
the videos he does upgrading the crossovers. Well, these speakers don't need it because they already have that in there. The other thing we can do is I'll be bringing this guy. This
Nice.
is, as I said, I'm a huge fanboy of Purify. And everybody, see if I can get an angle where you can see the weird um, undulations on the surround,
Hmm.
which is really an important enabling technology. And this is my Purify based speaker um, um, that I call a Pure 70 that is is going to be at Lone Star. And
What electronic stack are you going to bring for these guys?
um, the well, this is one of my amplifiers that I did a few years ago that I use in my personal system. The the stack, the one I have that I'll be bringing features a Sakaris R2R DAC, um,
Okay.
where I use the circuit boards from Europe and put them in my own case with my own power supplies. Um, I have a preamp that uses the Korg's new tube
Hmm.
to bring some nice triode lushness, along with it's surrounded and pampered with JFETs and very low noise power supplies. And then an amplifier that I'm a big fan of Ice Power
Hmm.
because the best hi-fi is the hi-fi that's actually up and running. And um, I have never had an Ice Power amp go bad on me. I'm challenging the fates by saying that, but I've never had it, including ones that when I first with this generation, I got a review in one of the online magazines, and um, I got a reviewer who was, let's say, exiting. I think I know why. From their and so he didn't care at all. He didn't even attempt to pack my amplifiers when I got them returned. So that ice power module was rattling around inside of it, and it turned on and it ran. And of course, they also sound very, very nice. And um, I'm a proponent of, I like those speakers and big amps because I don't like clipping. And so
Sure.
it's a power. And the they'll be sitting on my this is one of my Panzerholz racks. We can see just the top shelf here. Um, I call these the PZ series,
Nice.
obviously referring to the Panzerholz. Um, this one is the highest value in that line. Um, it's just under $2,000 for a 3-shelf rack. Uh, I also do some wider ones that, and actually the wider ones that'll accept 3. They're 2 shelves, and they'll take 3 components on each shelf.
Oh,
I'll
nice.
probably be bringing one of those, and those can go. They get up to like $5,500. Particularly, you can. This is a 20 millimeter shelf, and we also offer the option for 40 millimeter shelves.
Oh, wow, that is a thick shelf.
Yeah, yeah. They get real heavy, and earlier this year I delivered a custom unit to a client in Reno that uh, each shelf was 130 pounds because each shelf
Oof.
was 40 millimeters thick, and it was a wonderful system, and um, it was it complemented very, very nicely. Uh, Now you can uh, get into, if you want to taste the little Panzerholz, these little puck feet I sell, I call interface discs. You can get into those. I'd sell them for $111 for 3 of them, or $150 for 4, and they get great footers under equipment and racks. And then I'm also a dealer. You can see these big chrome discs.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about those in particular because
Those are carbide audios, and they combine the roller bearing style isolation
Mhm.
with elastomer based, and you can change on the higher end models. You can change out the elastomers so that they match the weight of whatever it is you're uh, um, sighting on them.
Mhm.
And I use at the show, my racks will be floating on, and the equipment will be floating on the carbide audio pieces. And it's when you get to a certain level, and you are just icing the cake, but you get to a point where I think it was one of the editors of Stereophile said it well, that there's an increasing importance to small changes, and when you get a really inert equipment rack, when you get it well isolated, and also these isolators work very nicely under speakers, um, it it makes for that bump in transparency and believability that's
Right.
that I've been chasing for the last 60 years.
I don't think we ever get to the end of that chase. I think
No,
it never ends. But that's why it's fun.
it is. So those would be the things. You can, typically you walk into my room, the LS6s will be playing on that stuff. And then when someone is interested in the littler guys, we'll plug those in too.
Awesome, great. Well, that's I think that's going to bring us about to the end of our time. So, as a recap for everyone, Norman Tracy from ACG and Pure Art Fi will be at the Lone Star Audio Fest in Austin, May. What was that? 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So, right around the corner. Very excited to have an opportunity to see you there, and I'm sure everybody else is. Excited as well. And one thing that I want to drive home is that I think this show has a little bit different flavor than other shows because, as you said, it's really not just a venue for big brands to come and show off their new whiz bang gadget, but really a place where the community gets together and can enjoy music.
And we're anxious to keep that and to expand on it. I'll say that I've always been into DIY audio, but of course, the past couple of decades, there's been the maker movement uh, throughout uh, the country, the world, and to me, Lone Star Audio Fest is a way I'm really anxious to bring those together and
Awesome.
to get makers into making HiFi.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. Everybody out there that's watching, thank you for your time. And with that, we'll close and we'll see you all in the next episode. Take care, everybody.
Bye.